All right, we've talked about it a little bit. We're going to talk about it even more. We've got compensated and gratuitous surety. So if you are paid to do this versus if you just want to do this as a good friend. Being a good friend sometimes looks like it could be a bad decision, but that's up to you. Compensated and gratuitous sureties are two types of sureties that differ based on whether they receive compensation for their guarantee. Here are the main differences between them in terms of their rights, obligations, and release. So compensation, the primary difference between this, as we've said, is your compensation. Gratuitous sureties do not receive compensation, and compensated sureties are usually professional surety companies. As I said, we could have financial institutions, we could have varying companies that will do this for a fee. Gratuitous sureties generally will be friends or family members. Rights and obligations. Both compensated and gratuitous sureties have the same basic rights and obligations, including the right to reimbursement from the debtor and the obligation to pay the creditor if the debtor defaults. However, some jurisdictions may provide additional rights and protections to gratuitous sureties, such as a requirement for the creditor to first exhaust all legal remedies against the debtor before pursuing the surety. And then we've got release here. The release of a compensated surety and a gratuitous surety can differ in certain situations. For example, we talked about that variation of risk. A gratuitous surety may be released from their obligation if there's a material variation in that obligation without the surety's consent. However, compensated sureties are typically held to a higher standard and may not be released as easily due to such variations. Next up, we've got extension of time. If the creditor grants an extension of time for the debtor's performance, it may discharge a gratuitous surety. However, a compensated surety is usually not discharged under these circumstances. Next up, we have loss of security. If a creditor releases or loses security without the surety's consent, a gratuitous surety may be discharged for the value of the released or lost security. Compensated sureties are generally not released as easily in these situations. Next up, and lastly here, lack of consideration. A gratuitous surety will only be bound by their promise if it's made before the creditor lends the money to the debtor, not after. Compensated sureties, on the other hand, are bound by their promise due to the compensation they receive. We're getting familiar, we're having a good time, we're understanding how this all works. Hey there! Are you ready to not only pass your CPA exams, but truly understand and enjoy the material while studying? I know it seems impossible, right? Especially to enjoy the material? We'll do it together. Tap into the power of CPA.examprep.ai, where we've got personalized quizzes, multiple choice questions, memorization guides, flashcards, simulations, all tailored to your learning. Our adaptive study planning puts you on the fastest path to success and lifts you back up if you fall behind. Avoid wasting your precious time and money attempting an exam with a low chance of passing, because who wants that? We want to get you through this process as quick as possible. Our exam readiness prediction lets you walk in with confidence, knowing that you're prepared for success on exam day. Thankfully, there's no payment method needed to get started, so why don't you come join us? Visit cpa.examprep.ai and let's achieve your exam success together.